Hello, hello. Welcome back to Life After Plus One. I'm Leanne, your podcast host and your single parent mentor and coach. And today I want to talk about a topic that is not so fun, and it's probably the hardest thing to deal with as a single parent. And that's dealing with a high conflict ex. They are vampires. They just suck the life out of you. How do you deal with people like that just drain you and really go to all lengths just to see you suffer? They go to all lengths to prove a point that they're the better person, when really that's not what co-parenting is about, but in their eyes it is. So today's episode is all about dealing with that high conflict ex. Now, just before we do dive into today's episode, I do want to remind you all that I do have those one-on-one services available, as well as the ebook. So if you are at a place where you are finding it a little tough to get by on your own, you don't have the emotional support you need, you don't have the friends that are giving you the support you need, maybe they're giving you advice based on their situation, maybe all your friends are married and they don't know how to give you the right advice. So that's why I have these ebooks as well as the one-on-one support. Now, there is a free chat available if you're not sure if it's something for you, if you're not sure if you're ready for it. If you don't know how it works, I do have a free chat available where we can have a chat and just see if we connect, if I'm someone that you want to work with. So let's have a chat. That is available at no charge. It's a free chat where we get to know each other and you can just see what you need help with. Because the thing is, when you're single parenting, you think you don't need help. You think you're fine. I can do it all on my own. I'm good. I will sort it out, as well as sorting everything else out on your own. It is challenging enough as it is. So if you can get as much support as you can get, grab it. And there's no pressure. You're not committed to take 12 sessions or 6 months worth of sessions or a whole year's worth of session. You can do one session if you want. Whatever you feel you need to just get to a better place, just to even get things off your chest, because there's also a question and answer session available where you can just get things off your chest. You have a few questions that you're just stewing on. You're laying awake in bed at night thinking, fuck, how do I fix this? What do I do? Let's have a chat. Let's talk about that. I can help you nut out some of those answers or get you in a better headspace so you can solve that yourself. Because when you're thinking at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you're not making decisions in the right place. You're just reacting instead of responding. So that's what my services are about. If you're interested, it is all available in the show notes. And on that note, let's jump into today's episode and talk about that high conflict ex. Welcome to the Life After Plus One podcast, where we turn life's lemons into delightful lemonade. Get ready for inspiring stories, uplifting conversations, and all the tips and tricks to rock your single parent journey with style. I'm your host, Leanne, and it's time to embrace the adventure of Life After Plus One. So let's dive in. Okay, so let's talk high conflict ex. What is a high conflict ex? Well, firstly, it's not just someone that you randomly have a little argument with, someone that occasionally pisses you off. Because let's be real, we all probably have people like that in our lives. We're not always happy with everyone that we associate with. There's always people that piss us off. A high conflict ex is someone that really goes above and beyond to really piss you off. Everything is about conflict. It's just a very toxic arrangement. It's the controlling nature of it all and the whole power trip, wanting to maintain power over you, the whole intimidation tactics, the manipulating, the guilt tripping, them constantly sending you messages to make you, just to fuck with your head really, and accusing you of things that you're not doing, the whole blame game, the whole victim mentality. That is a high conflict ex. And I can tell you now, those types of people really suck the life out of you. They really do. And you might be with someone, or you might be co-parenting with someone, and you do argue here and there because you're going to. It's your ex, you've broken up, and you do bicker every now and then. Mind you, there are some people that are in great places with their ex and they're able to communicate and move forward like normal people do. Isn't that amazing? Don't we all wish we could all have that scenario? Unfortunately not when you're dealing with a high conflict person, because they will not want to cooperate with you. No matter how many olive branches you extend to them, they will break those fucking branches and throw them in the fire. They do not want to cooperate. And even if it means putting the kids as first priority, no, because in their eyes, they're first priority. And really, when you step back and look at it, you just think this is so insane. It doesn't make sense. It's like reading a fairy tale. Some of the things they do and say, you're left questioning yourself and thinking, how the fuck can this even be true? How the hell can someone behave like this and think it's okay? And that's the thing with these high conflict situations. They really do the most, fucked up things where you're left scratching your head wondering, how the hell do you sleep at night? And it's sad. It really is sad. Now, especially for someone like myself, my role is coaching single parents to help single parents get through these shitty situations. But the sad thing is, my ex is one of those people, so I know exactly what it's like. You can be the most calm person. You could be the person that knows exactly how to handle these situations and what to say and what to do. But the thing is, no matter how cool, calm, and collected you are, it doesn't make a difference with them. You cannot change them. You cannot change what they say, what they do, how they react, how they try to control you, how they try to manipulate you, how they try to gaslight you, how they try to fuck with your life. You can't change that. It doesn't matter how well you manage these situations. They are not going to stop. It is a constant power play with them. It really is. And I can give you some really insane examples of things that I've been through, and it just boggles you. It is mind-boggling to think, why? Like, for example, I sent an email to my ex recently to put something in place where we don't need to communicate as much, and it just kind of signed off where I can confirm things with my daughter without needing to rely on him. And I'm not trying to push him out of her life. I'm not trying to get him away or tell him he's not involved or not her dad. I'm just trying to eliminate some of the toxicity, eliminate some of that drama, and really step up, because he's not involved in any major decision making as it is. I've involved him in her high school decision making. He doesn't want a bar of it. He doesn't even want to sign the paperwork. He doesn't want to be interested in signing the paperwork to renew her passport. He hasn't been to any of her school events since she's been in primary school. He doesn't even go to Father's Day events. He doesn't participate in anything. He's never even been to one of her doctor's appointments. He wouldn't even know where her doctor is. And should I add to this, he only lives 10 minutes away from us. It's not like he's interstate or lives far away. He's 10 minutes from where we live and 10 minutes from her school. So there's really no excuse for him not to be present. So that's why I'm wanting to take this avenue of trying to gain or put myself in a position where I don't need to rely on him to confirm decisions for my daughter. That needs the power of both parents to say yes or no. But I'm relying on someone and having this dangling carrot there from somebody who doesn't care, who's not involved, who's not present. So I sent him this text message to say, hey, this paperwork will mean that we don't need to communicate as much. It's just all about what time you're picking up our daughter, what time you're dropping her off, and that's it. And his response was, I'm not going to help you out. So that to me right there showed, one, it's a power play, and two, he doesn't give a fuck about our daughter. He just gives a fuck about dangling that carrot. And it's the whole control tactic, really, because if any ex hated communicating with you and hated being involved with you, they'd be interested to understand more about the situation. He didn't want to ask about what the papers were. He didn't want to ask what was involved or what that meant for him. He just said, I'm not going to help you out. Why should I help you for? And that is just the whole scenario of dealing with a high conflict ex. They don't care about how it affects the child. He didn't even ask if it has any effect on her, what it means for her. He didn't ask what it means for him. He's just in a position where I'm not helping you out. Why should I help you for? Which is a power play. Because really, he knows that if he did sign, well, maybe he doesn't know, I don't know. But if he did sign that paperwork, it means he has no say in my life and he has no say over anything that I do with our daughter. So that power for him and that control from him is gone. And he loses that. And that's what he loves. And I wasn't surprised when I got that message from him saying, well, I'm not going to help you out. Because I knew then and there, he's not going to do that. He's not going to leave me alone. 11 years on, and nothing has changed with his antics. He hasn't stepped up. And this is the thing with a high conflict ex. Now, like I said, I can go on and just sit here and talk for hours on stories about things that he says and does, which just like, it is mind-boggling what he does and what he comes up with. And I just think to myself, where the hell did you get this from? Some of the things are so stupid, they're laughable. But it's really a way of them to try and trigger you, to try and get a reaction, to try and say, oh, look, they're crazy. Look how crazy they are. Look how ridiculous they are. Look how angry they are. What's wrong with them? That is what they're trying to do. They're trying to trigger you and they're trying to control you. So what do you do in these situations? First things first, you've got to learn to stop proving a point to your ex. Now, you could stand there with a $10 bill in your hand and you can say to your ex, this is $10. And he'd be like, no, it's not. Or she, sorry, I shouldn't judge here. I'm just saying it based on my situation because there are women out there like this too. And you could say to them, this is a $10 bill. And they'd be like, no, it's not. They will always prove you wrong. You are wrong in their eyes no matter what. Or they'll find a way to say it's something else. No, it's paper. Or no, it's this. Or no, it's that. Who knows? They're just good at coming up with these random bloody stories. So they will come up with something else just to prove you wrong. And that's what they do. So you need to learn to stop trying to prove a point. You don't need to prove them wrong. You don't need to prove anything to them because really you're fighting a losing battle. Trying to prove a point to them is not going to achieve anything. Who cares if they think you're wrong? Who cares if they think you're dating someone and you're not? Who cares if they think that you're spending your money on things that you shouldn't be and you're not? Let them think that. Let them play in their little fairyland world on their own. Let them have their own little fairy tale. You don't live there anymore. It's their place. Don't engage in those stupid antics. Stop worrying about having to prove your ex wrong. That's okay. Just sit there and say, okay, or don't even respond, or thumbs up it. Anything. Just there's no need to engage. So when you're dealing with a high conflict ex and they say something to you which is wrong or which is totally screwed up or they question your parenting, who cares? Because you don't need to prove your parenting to them. It's your kids that see what kind of parent you are, and that's what matters. It's your kids that are there with you. It's your kids that know what kind of person you are. And you need to focus on being that ideal parent for them. Well, you don't have to be the ideal parent, but you need to be the best version of yourself for your kids. Show up for your kids, not for your ex. You don't need to show up for them. So it doesn't matter what they say to you, what they accuse you of, what they question you about. You do not need to engage. Leave it be and stop proving a point, because a high conflict ex is never going to turn around and say, oh, you're right, I'm wrong. It is not going to happen. Leave it be. Let them think they're right, because it doesn't matter, because deep down you know you're right. You know that their head is messed up and it's not a place that you want to be. Leave it for them. And on that point, number 2, what you should do is just totally disengage yourself. Disengage from anything. Now, this also goes with learning to stop proving a point. And to get to that place, you do need to learn to disengage. And when I say that, it means, well, actually not disengage. The word I'm looking for, is detach. Totally detach yourself. Emotionally detach yourself from them. So when they say these nasty comments to you, when they question you about things, or when they try and nitpick or just try and get under your skin about things, leave it be. Who cares? Who cares? Detach yourself. You don't need to prove a point and you don't need to care what they think. And when you get to that place, it is such a good place to be. Now, I understand when you first break up with your ex and they're like this, they're very high conflict, it is easy to get rattled. It is easy to get sucked into their mind games because you're still on that emotional roller coaster. You haven't come down yet. You're still up and down, up and down, up and down. And you've got them screwing with your head 24/7. It doesn't help. The quickest way for you to get over their games and to move forward is to totally detach yourself and not care about any of their judgments towards you, any of the questions, any of the comments, anything they say about you. Don't care. Who cares if they go off and tell their friends and family that you're stopping your kids from seeing them when you know that you're not, or the kids know that you're not? Who cares if they tell friends or family that you cheated on them or that you're seeing someone else and you're not, and you know you're not? Who cares? You don't need to worry about that. I mean, as long as they're not saying that to the kids, you don't want that. But what they say to you, just take it with a grain of salt. And I cannot emphasize that enough. Because when you start taking their comments personally, that's when it really messes with your head. You start doubting yourself. You start questioning yourself. You start thinking that there's something wrong with you. They're very good at these games. They're very good at getting in your head. Don't let it. And the best way to get them out of your head and stop playing their games is just to learn to totally emotionally detach yourself from them. Have no reaction. When you see them, you're just like, oh, it's just another person. It's like someone you just bumped into at the shops. It's not that ex that you'll marry to for 20 plus years. It's just another random person that's coming. Well, I shouldn't say random person. That's wrong when I'm saying coming to pick up the kids, because that's what I was about to say. Because you don't want a random person picking up the kids. But in that sense, when you're actually dealing with them, that's how you want it to be. Just another random person that you have no emotional connection to. Because when you lose that emotional connection, you lose the need to fight back. You lose the need to prove a point. You lose the need to care about their opinion. Another big tip when dealing with a high conflict ex is to have boundaries. It is so important to have boundaries, because it's very easy to do things where you get in the headspace of giving in to them because it's easier. You're avoiding the drama. Let's just do it to keep the peace. You don't want any fighting. You don't want any drama. So let's give them what they want to keep the peace. I know what that's like because I've been there. Because my ex is so consumed with drama that no matter what I said or did or whatever, it was somehow escalated into something that it wasn't. So I used to just do things just to keep the peace. My daughter would not want to go there. I'm like, please, just go to your father's just to keep the peace. Please, I don't want any fighting. And I'd do that a lot. And then I got to a place where I realized, hold on, by me keeping the peace, I'm enabling his behavior. I'm enabling what he's doing. No, that's not okay. Have some boundaries. So when they're doing something that you don't like, you don't necessarily have to turn around and say, oh, I don't like that. That's not acceptable. I mean, you can do, but a good chance a high conflict person won't even care. They'll just be like, whatever, or they'll just come back with some other smart ass comment. But having boundaries is just learning that if something's not right, don't engage. If they're forcing you to do things or putting you in a spot where you don't feel comfortable, don't give in. For example, they're changing the co-parenting arrangement and you think, okay, well, I don't want to do it, but if I don't, there's going to be drama, so I may as well just do it to keep the peace. They're changing the times of pick up and drop off. You're like, well, I had plans then, but if I tell them that and they can't make it earlier, they're not going to be there and it's just going to cause drama. So I may as well just do it to keep the peace. Has anyone else been there? It is a shitty spot to be in when you feel like you're bending over backwards just to please them, when it's not to please them, it's just you don't want drama. But then you're messing up your life, your schedule, your plans, just to keep the peace, to make them happy, when really they're not happy anyway. They're miserable. That's why they're always causing drama. And no matter what you do, they're probably not going to turn around and thank you for it. They'll just use that as an excuse to milk it for another situation. They can drain you for another time when they need something more. Oh, they'll do it. I know if I can't make it, they'll be fine. If I can't turn up for the kids this weekend, they'll be fine. No, it's not fine. They're messing around with you. So when they're asking something of you, when you feel uncomfortable and you don't feel it's right, and deep in your gut, you're like, I don't want to do this, or this has really messed around with my time, my schedule. I'm not happy about this. That's when you need your boundaries. That's when you just say, no, I can't do that. Sorry. Say, for example, I'll give a scenario here. Just say, for example, like one of the ones I just said, they changing the co-parenting arrangement or they're changing the pickup time. And they say, you've got it planned for, just say maybe example, 6:00 on a Friday evening and they're picking them up for the weekend. And they message you and say, I can't get there till 7:30, but you had dinner plans. You had plans to go out for dinner after the kids were picked up. Really, that scenario is quite a tricky one because you don't want to say, well, I've got plans. I can't do that. I'm going out. Because if you say that, then there's a good chance they're not going to cooperate because they don't like it when you're having plans. They don't like it when you're out having fun. They don't like it when you're doing things. So if you say, I can't, I've got plans, then there's a good chance they're going to make it even harder for you. Oh, well, 8:00 they're turning up and you've just given in to them to keep the peace. And this is where I've learnt, and this is a really hard thing to get your head around because in life we're taught to be glass half full, to look at things from a positive perspective and be happy about things. But when it comes to dealing with a high conflict ex, when it comes to dealing with a narcissist and someone who's a very controlling kind of person, the hard thing is to process is that you need to plan for worst case scenario. And that is shit. It is really hard to do, especially when you're such a positive person. Planning for worst case scenario is something you just don't do. No one is raised in life to plan for worst case scenario. We're all planned to think of the positive and something good that's going to happen and, glass half full. But with these kind of people, you do need to plan for worst case scenario. So in this kind of situation where they've said to you, sorry, I can't get there till 7:30, you don't know, it could be a legitimate excuse. It could just be bullshit. Who knows? But at the end of the day, you've made that arrangement. They need to respect that. And if they've turned around to you and said, I can't get there till 7:30, and you had already made plans, this is where, in this kind of situation, if you had already planned for worst case scenario, you have backup arrangements made for your kids. And I've done that on multiple occasions. Because like I said, you need to have the worst case scenario in place in case these things happen. Or you need to be prepared that if something was to happen and you had to miss out on your plans, then so be it. It's shit. It's not nice. But you do need to plan for this. So in this kind of situation where this did happen and the ex decides to turn up late and you had already made plans, have a backup plan of someone to watch the kids in case they fall through. Now, it's hard because we don't always have those people to rely on. We don't always have babysitters or friends around that we can fall back on if we need it with our kids. But if you do, and your ex is quite often someone that doesn't cooperate with you in this kind of situation, if you've made plans at a time that comes off your pickup schedule, your drop-off schedule, then have a backup plan. And it's hard. You just think to yourself, why should I have to have a backup plan? That's their parent. They should be there. 100% they should. And it's shit. But unfortunately, they're not. They're not always going to be there when you need them, when the kids need them, or when they've promised to be there. It doesn't always work like this. This is why they're high conflict, because they don't cooperate. They create conflict. So when you're in a situation and you've made plans, whether it be pickup time, whether it be drop-off time, whether it be something for the kids, and you've made arrangements and they said, yep, I'll be there, and the last minute they've turned around and said, no, I can't make it, or no, I'm running late, or some bullshit excuse. Have a backup plan, or be prepared just in case you might need to cancel your plans. You might need to reschedule your whole day to make it work. And I've had to do that on countless occasions when he's fallen through, and it happens, and it's shit. But that's what I'm saying. This is a really hard thing to get your head around. But when you're relying on your ex for something, and it's not necessarily even relying on your ex for something, but when they're involved in some way when it comes to pick up or drop off or doing something for the kids, and you know they're not always the most reliable person, then have a plan B. Have a plan B. So if something happens when they turn around and say, oh, sorry, I'm not going to make it till 7:30, then you can say, well, sorry, I've got plans. I'm going to take them to my friend's house. You can pick them up in the morning. So you're not sitting around waiting for them. They will good and well probably get the shits with that, but that's not your fault. You can't be expected to cancel your plans and sit around for an hour and a half because they're late. When they do that, you need to have another option ready. So when they turn around and mess you around, you can turn around and say, okay, well, you can pick them up in the morning then because I'm not going to be home at that time. You don't cancel your plans or your schedule to suit them just to keep the peace, or just because you don't want them to get angry, or just because they've messed you around. This is where you need to have those boundaries. Dealing with an ex that's never going to cooperate, that's just always letting you down, have your boundaries and have a backup plan. Another thing when you're dealing with someone like this is to document everything. Now, I know that can be hard for some because everyone's, I don't want to have to write everything down. I don't want to have to store everything. I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to worry about that. It's really creating more work for yourself, isn't it, when you've got to document everything that you're dealing with your ex? Because you've got enough on your plate, let alone having to babysit your ex and document everything that they're doing and saying. Who's got time for that shit? No one does. But unfortunately, when you're dealing with someone like this, you need to keep a record of it. Now, I'm not saying you've got to, print it all off, like send it to an email, print it all off. Some people do. And if you've got time for that, go for it. I think there are apps for that where you can upload documents. I've never looked into it. I've never bothered. I have everything just saved as a text message. And I can go back and find it if need be. It's probably going to be an effort, but I know it's all there in my text messages. Screenshotting it's probably a good idea as well, and you can also email it to yourself that way. But just keep a record of everything that needs to be flagged, whether it's something that's abusive, whether it's something that's just where they're controlling it, where they're changing plans, where they're just not stepping up as a parent like they should be, and they're not being involved, and they're letting you down, or they're letting the kids down, most importantly. Keep a record of that. Because if something happens where you want to change custody, something happens where they're being abusive and you want to put an AVO out, something happens where you need to change anything about your arrangements, then you've got something to back that up. Keep a record of their shitty behavior. And if you've got someone who is a witness to it, that's seen things, that's even better. Having a third-party witness is even better. But just document everything that they're doing that's inappropriate, really. The abusive texts, the swearing, the controlling, the manipulation, the intimidating. Keep a record of it in case there comes a time where you need to change something about your situation. Now, another thing to do in this situation, and especially when the kids are picking up on this, if the kids are at an age where they don't notice anything, they don't see anything, if they're not questioning anything or any of the other parents' behavior, then just leave it be. You don't need to involve them. But if they're at an age where they're asking questions, they're seeing what the other parent's doing and they're not liking it, they're seeing things and they're refusing to go there, be their safe space. If they're at a place where they're already feeling uncomfortable or questioning the behavior of another parent, then you need to be their safe space. You need to make sure they're comfortable and feel safe enough to talk to you about what's happening. And it's quite easy to forget that part with our kids, just to think that they're okay, they'll be fine, they're resilient. Kids are resilient, but you also need to keep them in the loop in an age-appropriate way. Sit down and have that conversation. Say, okay, what's going on? How are you feeling? Do you want to talk about anything? And sometimes it's nice just to be with our kids and not say, okay, this is what you should do. I don't agree with that. I don't like that. No, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Sometimes it is nice to sit with our kids and just listen. Let them talk. Let them get it off their chest. Because we don't want to encourage our kids or make our kids think that they have to bottle up all their feelings or all their anger or all their frustration. And one thing I say to my daughter all the time, I don't want you to feel like you can't talk to me about things that are happening at Dad's house. I'm here if you want to listen. If you want to say that you had a good time at Dad's, I'm happy about that. If you want to talk to me about any fun things you did, I'm here to listen. I'm not going to get upset because you had fun at Dad's. I want you to have fun at Dad's. If there's something you're not sure about, I want you to talk to me. Make them feel comfortable talking to you about things. So when something happens, they can easily, or they will feel more comfortable to want to come and talk to you, because they know that you're going to listen and they know that you're their support when they need it. And that's what kids need. So when you're going through something or you're going through a situation with a high conflict ex and your kids are starting to notice behaviors, talk to them. Ask them questions. Say, hey, okay, what do you think? How are you feeling about it? What are your thoughts on this? Ask them anything. Get them to open up about it. If they have any concerns, if they have any worries, just put their mind at ease. Be there for them. And if it is too much, get some support for the kids. Get someone for them to talk to. And if you need some support, if you need someone to talk to, then that's what I'm here for with Life After Plus One. I'm here to help parents get through these really shitty stages, because it can be hard when you're dealing with a high conflict person. And as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter if you've been co-parenting for 1 month, 1 year, or 10 years. It's not going to change. And the thing is, you think to yourself, okay, when is this going to end? When is it going to end? When are they going to stop? They don't. They don't stop. So that's why it is so important for you to learn how to manage these situations. You can't teach them to be a better parent. You can't teach them how to deal with things better. I mean, hey, there are people out there that are willing to learn, that are willing to do better, that are willing to learn from their mistakes. But if they are someone that's constantly in victim mode, constantly in the blame game, constantly wanting to create drama, then there's a good chance they're not that person that's going to want to change. So the only thing that you can change in that situation with a high conflict ex is what you do. You're in this constant cycle with your ex, dealing with this same drama, the same issues, the same fighting, the same battles, and you're the one left pissed off. You're the one left changing your schedule around. You're the one left having to pick up the pieces. You're the one left having to buy the things that he was meant to or she was meant to provide. You're the one having to fix everything. But when you learn to handle that situation differently, you learn not to let it get to you. Now, sometimes there are times that you have to pay for things that they should be doing. And that sucks. It really does. You just think to myself, well, why should I let it be? Why should I let them get away with paying for things? They're the parent. They should. But sometimes you have to ask yourself, is it worth fighting for? Is it worth? Now, again, I don't want to cross that line of just doing it to keep the peace. But it's one thing to do things where you just ignore them, let it slide just to keep the peace. It's another thing to find another way to do it where you're setting your boundaries, but you're keeping the peace. So you can keep the peace, but set your boundaries. So say, for example, with my ex, he's recently said that he's not contributing to school fees. I've recently discovered, which I didn't know, and some of you listening may not also know, that you can change your child support arrangement to incorporate school fees into it. So if your kids are in private school or the Catholic school system, they would take that into consideration with your school fees. And I also believe it may also apply with dental work. I haven't looked into it fully, but that's what I believe as well. So that is something to take into consideration. So when my ex keeps saying to me, I'm not paying for school fees, I'm not paying for school fees. Well, is it worth my time to keep fighting him? Is it worth my time to keep going through this endless cycle of drama back and forth saying you need to be on board, you need to sign the papers? Or is it much easier for me just to do it, fill in the papers, and then change child support to have school fees included, so then my child support will then be increased to incorporate those school fees. So there's a way to do things where you're keeping the peace, but there's a way to do things where you're setting your boundaries, but you're also keeping the peace. So when you're doing things to keep the peace, make sure you're doing it and you're setting boundaries at the same time. Because it really stings. It really does sting when you got an ex and they just refuse to contribute financially for things and you're left to do it all. Yes, they may pay child support, but really, what does that cover? What does that cover? And it really stings with my ex when I left him with nothing. And I've said this on multiple episodes. I literally walked out with a suitcase of clothes and my daughter. I didn't even have my car. My car was sold when I was in that relationship. I was meant to take the car that we got together when we were in that relationship. He then fought it because it was under his name. I could have gone to settle him. I could have done all this stuff and probably got more. I didn't have the energy. I stupidly back then said, no, I just want to keep the peace. I don't want the drama. But I didn't set my boundaries. I could have done it by keeping the peace, but still putting my boundaries in place by taking some action. Back then, 11 years ago, I wasn't in that headspace to do that. But what I'm getting at is I've walked away with nothing with him. I've literally built my life from scratch with absolutely no savings. I spent all my savings whilst I was with him on holidays and new furniture and doing up the house and everything else that I walked out of with nothing. And still to this day, 11 years on, he still tries to see me suffer financially. And that just blows me away. But that is what I'm saying. They will not do anything if it means they think or it looks like they are cooperating with you. They will not cooperate. So when you need something from them, don't bother asking them. Find another way to do it. If it's going through child support, if it's going through some other avenue, if it's going through the school system, if it's going through the dentist themselves, like if you're getting dental work done through your kids, maybe you can get them to call up the other parent and ask them to sign off on the invoice. There's always a way around it. Well, not always, but most of the time there's a way around it where you don't have to be in contact with your ex. Keep that contact with them to a minimum if they are high conflict. Keep it as little as possible. So if you do need something from them that's related to them providing for your kids and you know they're not going to help you out, see if there's another way. Find another way around it. Now, I'm not saying get someone else to call them up and do it for you because very likely they'll give the same response. But just be smart, do your research. If you're needing something provided from them for the kids, find if there's another way that you can get them to cooperate where you don't have to speak to them And lastly, please remember, fighting with an ex when they piss you off is not going to give you any positive outcome. If anything, it's going to leave you pissed off. It's going to leave you angry. It's going to leave you moody. It's going to leave you in a shitty space for a good couple of days. Because they don't just do something and in 5 minutes later you've gotten over it. You will be stewing on it for days. Don't engage. So remember the points that I said. Don't focus on proving a point to your ex. You don't need to prove anything to them. If they accuse you of anything, they blame you of anything, if they question anything about you, leave it be. Leave it be. You do not need to respond. You do not need to engage. Emotionally detach yourself. Don't have any emotion to anything they say. If they judge you on your appearance, they judge you on your weight, they judge you on your dating life, they judge you on your parenting, they judge you on anything at all. Do not engage. Who cares what they think? They are doing it to rattle you. And if you respond, they win. They got what they wanted. They got to prove that their ex is crazy. Don't let them trigger you. Emotionally detach yourself. Keep a record of anything that you feel is inappropriate or abusive or just something that they should not be doing or saying. Keep a record of it. Document everything. Screenshot it. Save it. Do whatever you can, just in case you need to change something about your parenting arrangement. And most importantly, have your boundaries. Set your boundaries. Don't just give in to keep the peace. If you're giving in to keep the peace, make sure you're keeping the peace for yourself as well, not just for them. You're not there to make their life easier. It's about making your life easier and your kids' life easier. And when you're keeping the peace just for them, it's going to leave you upset, it's going to leave you angry, and it's going to make you angry at your kids because you end up taking it out on somebody, and it's usually your kids that cop it. So if you're going to keep the peace, make sure you're setting boundaries and it works in your favor as well, not just theirs. Lastly, if you are really struggling, then get some help because it is a lot. It is a lot going through a co-parenting relationship with somebody like this. They do really suck the life out of you and it's not fun. It is not. So if you need help on putting these steps into action and you're not able to get to a place where you can do it, no matter what they do, no matter what they say, you're still getting triggered. You're still feeling the need to respond. You're still feeling the need to defend yourself. Then let's have a chat because you've got to get to a place where you're not wanting to respond. You're not wanting to defend yourself. You're not wanting to prove a point to them. And that will make it so much easier. Now, like I said, they're never going to change. You can't change. They're always going to be that same way. So if they're high conflict now, just because you can manage it better doesn't mean they're going to be better at co-parenting. It just means that there's no drama on your end because you know how to manage it. You know how to not let it get to you. And that's what's important. So don't think just because you've worked on yourself that it's all of a sudden going to be rainbows and butterflies. I mean, hey, wouldn't that be nice? But it's not as easy as that. So just please remember that they don't just all of a sudden become a better person because you've learned how to handle things better. If anything, they may get triggered more because they see that you're not reacting. And that's not what they want. They want you to react. They want you to get angry. So if you're not reacting or responding or acknowledging, then it could trigger them. And I have seen that happen, and it does. But just stick to what you know. If they do get triggered by the fact that you're not doing what they think you should be doing, you're not fighting back to them, you're not swearing at them, you're not getting angry at them, and that triggers them and makes them go even harder, just keep the peace. Don't engage. Let them be that shitty person. You're the better person, and that's what you need to focus on. Not proving a point. And don't stoop to their level. You don't need to stoop to their level. That's their life. Like I said at the beginning, that's their little fairyland. Leave them in their fairy tale story. You don't have to be there. You're in your own story. Don't go back to theirs. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. I really hope you got something from this because it is extremely challenging dealing with a high conflict ex. It is extremely challenging dealing with someone that questions your every move, that will try and prove you wrong, that will try and do everything to suck the life out of you. It is hard, but I promise you now, the sooner you learn to put these action steps into place, the easier it gets for you. And if you are struggling to do that, please let's have a chat, because you don't need to be in that place. It is really a dark place to be when you're letting them mess with your head. Get out of that. Come over to the sunny side. It is so much better. So that's it from me, guys. Please, I hope you got something. And if you want to share anything, if you want to share any valuable tips that you've picked up, I would love to hear. Come over and join me on Instagram at Life After Plus One and share your stories. Share any feedback. Share anything that you've put into place. I love hearing stories from anyone or any personal stories of what you're going through. Let's hear from them. I'd love to hear from you all. So thank you again, everyone. That's it from me today, guys. And if you do want any other details on my services, they are all in the show notes below. So thank you again, everyone. And until next week, I'll be in your ears then. Thank you for joining us on the Life After Plus One podcast. If you loved what you heard today and looking for some further support, then jump onto our website, lifeafterplusone.com. Plus, don't forget to check out our Instagram page for further resources and inspo. You can find all the links in the show notes. And remember, you're not alone on this path. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep exploring your amazing life after plus one.